Your poverty's a joke, my sister Clara sneered, humiliating me in Tacoma's boutique as staff laughed and Mom stayed silent. I'm Lila, betrayed last month. They didn't see my husband Silas walk in, suit sharp, truth sharper. Here's how I reclaimed my dignity, Clara called. A girl's day out, her tone syrupy, sweet over the phone that morning. You should come with me to Silver Emporium, she said. They've got some new pendants in for Mother's Day. Let's pick something for Mom together. She didn't have to twist my arm. I'd been meaning to find a gift anyway. Something small but meaningful. I slipped on my soft blue cardigan, the same one I'd worn for years, and grabbed my grandmother's old leather wallet from the table by the door. The stitching was frayed in places, but I still ran my fingers over it with care. It smelled faintly of rose and vanilla lotion, and I always carried it like armor. Clara pulled up in her silver BMW, sunglasses perched on her head like a crown. You ready? She asked, flashing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. I nodded and slid into the passenger seat. She didn't ask about my morning, my work, or how I was doing. She talked about herself the entire 20-minute drive to Cedar Grove Plaza. Silver Emporium stood like a glass temple at the center of the plaza, its amethyst signage gleaming beneath the wall. Inside, marble floors stretched underfoot, lit by chandeliers that cast sharp diamonds of light across the displays. Women floated between counters, their heels clicking softly, all draped in silk and confidence. I could feel it the second I walked in, how out of place I was. Clara led the way, her heels tapping like a metronome. She wore a fitted blazer, gold hoops, and that perfect matte lipstick she never seemed to reapply. Heads turned when she passed. I kept a quiet step behind her, holding my wallet like it meant something here. This one's cute, she said loudly, stopping in front of a display case. Then, without even glancing my way, she added, Not that you'd be able to tell. A few boutique staff looked up. One smiled, tight-lipped, politely dismissive. I looked down at my shoes. Comfortable? Yes. Trendy? Absolutely not. The kind of flats you wear when you're on your feet working all day. As I turned to browse a tray of pendants, the store manager stepped over with a practiced smile. She was all sharp lines, tailored gray suit, hair in a sleek bun, voice like velvet wrapped around judgment. Would you like me to show you something from our clearance upstairs? She asked, looking straight at me. I blinked. I'm actually looking for a jade pendant for my mother, I said, softly, trying not to bristle. Clara chimed in, voice just loud enough for the nearby customers to hear. She likes to look, but don't worry, she's not really shopping. She laughed like it was a private joke, then added, She's here for the air conditioning. The manager chuckled and turned to Clara. Would you like a glass of champagne while you browse? Love one, Clara beamed, accepting it like royalty. No one offered me anything. I kept browsing. I didn't want to give her or anyone else the satisfaction of seeing me flinch. My hands were steady as I examined a simple jade pendant. It was small, round, with a light green hue that reminded me of my grandmother's eyes when she was young. Not flashy, just honest. That's a nice one, I murmured to myself. Clara's voice floated over my shoulder, sharp as glass. She always does this, pretends she's one of us. It's kind of cute, honestly. I froze. Two women nearby turned. One whispered something, the other stifled a smile. The kind of smile that says, bless your heart. I should have left. But I stayed. I straightened my shoulders, walked up to the counter, and quietly placed pendant down. I'd like to buy this one. The manager raised a brow, glanced down, then looked back up at me. Oh, I'm sorry. That one's reserved for a regular client. Behind me, Clara chuckled. It's okay. She just likes to pretend, play dress up. I said nothing. I placed the pendant back on the velvet tray. My fingers were cold, though the room was warm. I didn't cry. I didn't defend myself. I just turned, holding my grandmother's wallet a little tighter. As I walked toward the door, I caught sight of the security camera above the checkout counter. Its tiny red light blinked, capturing everything. Clara's smirk, the store manager's smirk, my silence. Behind me, Clara's voice rang out like a song she'd been rehearsing. This'll make a cute little story for our group chat. I didn't look back. I stepped out into the Washington sun, wondering how many times you could be erased by your own blood before you vanished completely. The air outside the boutique still held the burn of early summer, but it couldn't compare to the heat in my chest. I didn't say a word as I slid back into Clara's car. She didn't either. She adjusted the AC vents, tapped on her phone, then finally tossed a glance my way. "Try not to embarrass anyone next time," she muttered, eyes fixed on the road. "It's just a store, Lila. You make everything so dramatic." I clenched my jaw. Not because of what she said. I'd stopped expecting decency from her a long time ago, but because somehow I still let her talk to me like that. Still got in her car, still gave her chances to be someone she clearly never wanted to be. The ride to Mom's house was quiet, save for the low hum of Clara's playlist. Trendy pop music that grated like nails on glass. She didn't ask if I was okay, didn't acknowledge what happened inside the boutique. Just scrolled through her phone and smirked every now and then, probably replying to someone in that group chat she mentioned. When we pulled into Mom's driveway, I gathered my small box from my lap. The jade pendant I'd bought months ago sat inside, nestled in soft cotton. I'd ordered it online after seeing Mom admire a similar one in an old jewelry catalog. I'd even paid $75.00 extra for engraving. To Margaret with love. Clara didn't wait for me. She beeped the lock and strode to the porch ahead of me like she owned the place. I followed, slower, pressing the gift box gently in my palm. Mom was in the kitchen arranging daisies and tulips in a large ceramic vase. The familiar scent of lavender cleaner and freshly brewed coffee filled the house, grounding me just a little. "Hey, Mom," I said, stepping into the entryway. She turned briefly, barely glancing up. "Oh, hi, honey." The moment she saw Clara, her whole face lit up. "There's my girl." Mom's voice shifted brighter, warmer, whole. She wiped her hands on a towel and opened her arms for a hug. "You made it." "I told you I would," Clara said, setting her bag on the counter like it belonged there. "Wouldn't miss your weekend." I sat back, invisible, like usual, trying to find my place. "I brought something for you. Just a little something for Mother's Day." Mom turned toward it, lifted the lid. Her fingers brushed the green stone, eyes scanning the delicate chain. Then she smiled. "Oh, Clara, this is beautiful." My heart stopped. I looked at Clara, expecting her to laugh it off or correct her, maybe say, "Actually, Leela brought that, something, anything." But she didn't. She just leaned on the counter, sipped from her iced tea, and gave a soft, practiced smile. I opened my mouth, closed it. My words had nowhere to go. Later, I excused myself to the bathroom, needing air more than anything else. On the way back, I passed the trash bin in the hallway. The lid wasn't fully closed. Something inside caught my eye. A crumpled receipt. Mine. I bent slightly, hands trembling, pulled it out. My name had been scratched off in pen, slashed right through, like I'd never existed. In its place, written neatly, was Clara H. I stood frozen. The pendant, the gift, everything. She hadn't just let the moment slide. She had planned this. I walked back slowly, the receipt folded in my hand, heat rising to my ears. Back in the kitchen, Mom was placing the pendant on her jewelry rack, humming softly. "Mom," I said, voice quiet but firm. "I bought that for you. The jade one." "Don't be silly," she replied. "Clara gave it to me." "No, she didn't. I did, months ago." "I have the order confirmation." She turned then, setting the pendant down. "Why must you always make things difficult?" That sentence didn't just land, it shattered. I stared at her, really stared at the woman who raised me. The woman's hands once wiped my tears after my first heartbreak, whose voice used to read me bedtime stories when Clara refused. And she had seen it. She had seen the tag was changed, seen me standing there, ignored. She knew, but she chose the lie. The rest of the visit blurred. Later, as the sun began dipping lower behind the backyard trees, Clara announced, "We're doing dinner tonight with Mom and some friends. Just a little thing, industry people." She gave me that look, the one she always used when she wanted to cut and pretend it was a compliment. "You'd feel out of place. You know, it's kind of a networking dinner." I nodded once, didn't fight it. "Sure, I've got things to do anyway." Neither of them stopped me as I picked up my bag. No drive safe. No thanks for coming. No love you. Just silence as I walked out. On the way to the curb, I passed Clara's luxury SUV. Its polished windows reflected back a distorted image of me, clutching that worn-out wallet like a lifeline. I wasn't sure what they saw when they looked at me, But I was starting to see it, someone who'd become far too easy to overlook. Even my mother knew the truth, and she looked me in the eye and chose the lie instead. I drove home from Mom's in silence, windows down, hoping the rush of mountain air might clear the ache that had settled in my chest. The streets of Seattle were golden and quiet, Sunday easing in like a sigh, but inside me everything throbbed, not from shock anymore, just the slow pulse of knowing I'd been erased again. My little apartment was still, sun filtering through the blinds in streaks across the living room carpet. I dropped my keys in the bowl by the door and went straight to bed without brushing my teeth. Not out of laziness, just that bone-deep exhaustion that comes when you've been reminded for the 100th time that you don't belong. The next morning I woke up early, not because I wanted to, but because my phone wouldn't stop vibrating. 27 notifications blinked across my lock screen, all from the family group chat. I sat up, pulse quickening. For a moment, my mind went to the worst. Someone in the hospital, an accident. But it wasn't that. The first message was a video. I tapped it. The image filled my screen. There I was, me from the day before, standing at the boutique counter holding the Jade pendant. Clara's voice cackled in the background. She just likes to play rich. She can't actually afford it. The manager's smirk, the way he took the box from my hands and handed it off like I was a child stealing candy. And there I was, backing away, my face stunned, caught in profile as I turned to leave. A laughing emoji floated beneath the clip, sent by my mother. Under it, a message from Ellen, Clara's friend, still shopping like a princess on a peasant budget. No one, no cousin, no aunt, no distant uncle said a word to defend me. The clip had already been shared across multiple messages, different angles, different timestamps. Someone had taken the footage from the boutique security camera, maybe with a phone filming the monitor. One of them must have asked the staff to show it back, probably for laughs. My hands trembled. I wanted to feel rage, but all I felt was tired. Tired in a way that made me wonder if anything I did would ever matter to them again. If it ever had. I closed the chat. Seconds later, another notification popped up. A new photo. Mom, Clara, and 4 other family friends dressed to the nines, wine glasses in hand, seated around a long candlelit table. The caption read, "Done family, whole and proud." There was no sign I'd ever existed. I searched the tags. No mention of me. A comment from a cousin I hadn't seen since high school. "Where's your sister?" Clara replied. She had other things. I sat still for a long moment, not angry, just erased. I opened my laptop and pulled up Clara's public profile. Scroll after scroll, post after post. Smiles, celebrations, brunches, charity galas, and always our beautiful family. This and so lucky to have these roots that... But something caught my eye. A birthday party last month. I had brought the cake. I'd taken the photo. And yet, when I looked at the post, there I wasn't. The picture had been cropped. Another one. A Thanksgiving dinner from 2 years back. I'd made the mashed potato casserole. I remembered the smell, the laughter, even Clara's eye roll when I brought it. But there were no signs of me in the photos shared, not even the group photo. I wasn't just missing. I was being deleted. My finger hovered over the screen, stunned by how meticulous it was, like someone had gone in with a scalpel and cut me out frame by frame. I left the couch, walked into my bedroom, and opened the bottom drawer of my dresser. Inside, buried beneath an old sweater, was a framed photo. Me and my grandmother sitting in her backyard, sun catching the strands of her gray bun. Her hand was on mine. No filters, no edits, just us. I held it close and whispered, "You saw me," even when no one else did. My phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't the group chat. It was a number I didn't recognize at first. No name attached, just a message. "Hey, saw you in that video. Are you okay?" I stared at it, unsure how to breathe. Then the second message came. "It's Silas from college. Remember me?" Silas. I hadn't heard that name in over a decade. Now I stared at the message for a full minute before my fingers even moved. Silas. He hadn't called himself that back in college. Everyone said Seed. I used to tease him about it, say it sounded too clean-cut for someone who practically lived in the art studio. wore charcoal-stained jeans, and red frost in the laundry room. I typed, "Hey, I'm okay, I think." Not even 45 seconds passed before the typing bubbles showed up. "I'm in Seattle today," was passing through. "But if you're up for it, brunch." I hesitated, not because I didn't want to see him, but because I wasn't sure which version of me he remembered. The girl who dared to write op-eds calling out our own university president? Or the one who helped him breathe through a panic attack before his first marketing internship interview by pacing the quad with him for an hour? Definitely not the one who'd just gone viral for being treated like gum stuck under a boutique counter. Still, I found myself replying, "Sure," to a tiny brunch cafe tucked behind a used bookstore I used to love. I dressed simply, a cream blouse, jeans, the one pair of sandals I owned without a worn strap, and I carried my grandmother's wallet, not because it matched, but because it had become the only thing that still felt like mine. By the time I got there, he was already seated by the window, 2 glasses of iced tea between his hands. His face hadn't changed much, just a little older, sharper around the edges, but his eyes, warm and steady, felt like a memory pulled into the present. "Hey, stranger," he said, standing as I approached. "Hey yourself." I sat, unsure what to do with my hands. He didn't waste time. "I saw the video," he said gently. I figured, "You okay?" I gave a half smile, not really knowing how to answer. "It's just family stuff." He didn't let me off easy. "Lila, that's not family stuff, that's cruelty. And it's not the you I remember." I glanced away, focusing on a child laughing near the patio. "You didn't used to shrink," he added, not unkindly. "You used to take up space without apologizing." The words landed softly but cut sharp because I remembered that girl too. The one who argued with professors, organized fundraisers, made people uncomfortable with how confidently she stood for things. I remembered her voice. And I remembered the last time I heard it years ago. Silas reached for his glass. "You remember the time you practically dragged me to that interview? I almost didn't go." "You were spiraling," I smiled faintly. "And you were the only one who noticed." I wanted to tell him that I hadn't changed, not really, that life had just weathered me. But even I wasn't convinced anymore. When the check came, I reached into my bag for my wallet. Silas looked at it and smiled. "Still using that?" "It still works," I said, handing over my card. Sentimental. But before I could tuck it away again, I heard a voice behind me. Clear, crisp, feminine. "I can't believe she still carries that knockoff thing." I turned slightly. Ellen, Clara's ever-loyal friend, standing 2 tables away, dressed in white silk, holding a mimosa. She was with 3 other women, all glowing with that curated sheen you only see on Instagram pages with affiliate links. Her voice dropped, but not low enough. "That's the sister Clara helps out, the one they let tag along so they feel better about themselves." The women chucked. Silas's hand tightened around his glass. I could feel his breath hitch. He looked like he wanted to stand, but I shook my head. I said nothing, just slowly placed the wallet back into my bag and offered him a small smile. "I need some air," I said, rising quietly. He stood too. "You want me to—" "No, just thanks for this." He didn't push, just nodded like he understood more than I could say. Outside, the air was dry and sharp, the kind of mountain heat that didn't hug you, it pushed against you. I leaned against a lamppost in the parking lot, eyes closed. I didn't cry, not because I wasn't hurt, but because it felt like I didn't even belong to the hurt anymore, just floating around it like some invisible outline of a person everyone else could redraw however they liked. The phone buzzed again. I looked down. Silas. I hadn't seen that name flash across my screen in months. I let it ring once, twice. My finger hovered, and by the 3rd ring, something shifted inside me. Not rage, not clarity, just decision. I picked it up. When I answered Silas' call, I didn't expect my voice to sound steady, but it did. "Hey," I said quietly. His breath on the other end was soft but familiar. "You still carry that old wallet, don't you?" A laugh escaped me, unplanned, unguarded. "Of course I do. What else would I carry?" "My dignity," he chuckled. "Don't sell yourself short, Leela. That wallet's been through hell with you and it's still holding together." We didn't talk long. He wasn't calling to fix anything, just to remind me I wasn't invisible. We talked about nothing and everything for 20 minutes, and when I hung up, I felt oddly clear-headed. Not happy, not hopeful, but still standing. By late evening, I realized I'd left my folder of marketing notes and research papers at my mother's house the day before. They weren't important to anyone else, but they were mine. They were what I had left of my freelance branding, my attempts to restart a career in digital strategy that had been derailed after a family emergency I'd been pulled into and never quite climbed out of. So, I got in my car and drove back. The sun was already down, and the mountain air had cooled. I parked along the curb, not wanting to pull into the driveway and feel like I was intruding again. The porch light was on, but the house inside was quiet, eerily so. No sound of a TV, no clatter from the kitchen, just the low hum of a dishwasher and the occasional creak of old wooden floorboards shifting. I stepped in. My shoes made soft contact with the tiles, but no one turned. My mother was at the counter arranging tea towels, her back to me. "I forgot a folder," I said. That was it. Clara's voice drifted from upstairs, something about her calendar for the week relayed on speakerphone to what sounded like a marketing assistant. I walked into the living room and found my folder on the armrest of the couch, right where I'd left it. But before I turned to leave, something on the mantel caught my eye. It was the pendant. The Jade pendant. The one I had ordered months ago, boxed with tissue paper and a handwritten note in Mom's favorite green ink. Now it sat center stage on the mantel, encased in a custom glass box with a brass label. I leaned in to read it. To Mom. From your eldest. Always proud to be your daughter. Love, Clara. I'd felt many things before. Shame, anger, humiliation. But this was theft in slow motion, and worse, no one even tried to hide it. My throat burned, but no words came. I turned, clutching my folder to my chest like it could hold me up. Mom. I thripped. She didn't turn around. I gave you that pendant. Finally, she faced me. Her expression wasn't cruel, just tired, dismissive. Why does it always have to be about you? That's all she said. As if what I'd seen didn't matter. As if truth only existed in how it made others feel. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I walked out, quiet as I'd come in. Back at home, I changed into an old cotton t-shirt and sweatpants, made tea, I didn't drink, and opened my phone. The screen was still lit when I unlocked it. One message from my cousin Nora. Meant to send this to Ellen. Oops, just ignore. Attached, a screenshot. It was from a private family thread I hadn't been invited to. Maybe I'd been removed. Maybe I never existed in that version of our family. The image showed me at the Silver Emporium, reaching for the pendant, the boutique manager smirking. Clara's caption, can't believe she really thought she could afford something real. A reply, poor thing. Then came my mother's response, simple, final. We pity her, but we can't carry her forever. I stared at it. The screen didn't blur. I didn't cry. I just felt released, like everything that had ever held me tethered to them, hope, guilt, longing, had quietly come undone. I placed the phone down gently, like it was something sacred, walked barefoot to the back patio and opened the screen door. The air outside was still. A single moth hovered near the porch light, batting softly against it over and over. I whispered into the dark. I'm not yours to carry. I never was. And in that silence, for once, no one interrupted. Inside, my phone vibrated on the table. Silence again. This time, I picked up on the first ring. He didn't start with hello. You still carry that old wallet, don't you? I smiled because somehow he knew. Maybe always had. Yeah, I said. I do. That's good, he replied. Means you haven't forgotten who you are, and then let's talk. It was the first time in weeks someone spoke to me like I hadn't already disappeared. When I woke Tuesday morning, the air in my apartment felt different, thicker somehow, like the silence itself was watching me. The world outside was starting to turn warm again. That Washington kind of heat that you feel before you even open the window. Silas knocked just after 10:00 a.m. He didn't bring flowers or food. Just 2 cups of black coffee and that steady gaze of his, the one I used to lean on before everything got too heavy to carry. We sat at the small table near the window, the same one where I'd once written branding proposals and sorted bills. He watched me as I cradled the mug between my palms like it could give me courage. "I don't want revenge," I said quietly. "I don't want to burn it all down." He tilted his head. But I want to stop shrinking." There was a long pause. I didn't fill it. I let it settle between us like truth. He nodded. "So, what's your ask? If I go back there, Silver Emporium, will you walk in?" "You know they'll try to knock you down again." I exhaled slowly. "Then let them try." We didn't say much after that. We finished our coffee. I didn't put on anything fancy, just clean jeans, a navy top, and the wallet that somehow carried more of my dignity than any handbag ever could. By 1:00 p.m., I stood in front of Silver Emporium's glass doors alone. I caught my reflection in the polished glass before stepping inside. No makeup, no mask, just me. The air conditioning inside hit sharp against my skin, and the faint smell of jasmine and money wrapped around the place like armor. The same manager looked up from behind the counter. His expression didn't change, but his eyebrows ticked up. "Can I help you?" he asked, neutral tone overlaid with practiced indifference. Before I could answer, a voice shot from behind the register. "Oh, her again, Ellen, of course." She stepped out from the back like she'd just been waiting for her entrance. She was dressed in ivory silk, head to toe like some curated Instagram post. Her heels clicked across the tile like applause meant for herself. I kept my tone calm. "I'm here about the pendant, the one my sister purchased." The manager leaned slightly forward. "Do you have a receipt?" "No," I said simply, "but I designed it." Ellen barked out a short laugh and turned away. "This is rich." The manager hesitated. "We custom design pieces for verified clients only. If you have the invoice, I can—" He opened his mouth to say something, but didn't. A silence stretched between us, long enough for the tension to settle, but short enough to feel like it might snap. Then I heard it, low. Just behind me. Ellen, leaning close to a new associate I didn't recognize. "She's not shopping. Last time she tried to walk out with something." The word shoplifter wasn't shouted, but it was loud enough to travel. The manager straightened. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave the premises." I paused, felt the blood drain from my face, then return like a slow burn up my neck. But I didn't argue. I didn't plead. I smiled. It was small, measured, quiet, and it unsettled him. I turned on my heel and walked out without another word. Back at home, I texted Silas. "They want me out, called me a thief." He called instead of texting back. "You ready?" I was ready the moment I walked in. By 4:00 p.m., Silas was on a call. Not with the boutique, but with someone higher up. "Hi, this is Silas Harper," he said evenly. "I'm calling on behalf of a partner involved with Silver Emporium's product design process." I watched him pace the kitchen floor, every step deliberate. "This isn't about her being my wife," he continued. "It's about your staff spreading defamatory rumors about a co-founder's intellectual property." There was silence on the other end. Then he said, "You'll want to check the store's security archives. Start with March 15th. And he hung up. He didn't look at me right away. He took a slow sip of water first, like he wasn't even rattled. "Tomorrow," he said. "They'll come crawling." He was right. Just after 7:00 p.m., I got a call, blocked number. I let it go to voicemail, then at this time the boutique's landline number flashing on the screen. I answered. The manager's voice was careful now, polished, coded in nervous courtesy. "Ms. Harper, we'd like to apologize for the earlier misunderstanding. We believe there's been some confusion regarding your visit and would be happy to discuss things in person." I didn't speak right away, he continued. "You're welcome to come in tomorrow, whenever's convenient." I hung up. No thank you. No confirmation. Instead, I texted Silas. "Are you free tomorrow?" His reply came back seconds later. "For you, always." This time, if they wanted to erase me, they'd have to do it in front of the man who watched me build myself. The air inside Silver Emporium smelled the same. Jasmine, lacquered wood, cold florals with no soul. But something had shifted. Me. I wasn't walking in behind anyone this time, but it wasn't his presence they should have been watching. It was mine. I walked past the display cases like I belonged there. No hesitations, no glances downward, just steady steps toward the consultation lounge where the real negotiations happened. The space they'd once told me was by invitation only. Today, I held my own invitation. Truth, the boutique manager spotted us immediately. Her lips twitched and something meant to be a smile. "Harper," she said, her tone sticky. "Sweet, we're so glad you agreed to come back in. There's been some confusion." "No," I cut in, laying the leather folder on the table without ceremony. "There's been clarity. You just didn't expect me to have witnesses this time." She blinked. Her gaze drifted to Silas, who remained politely silent, arms crossed like a calm storm, waiting for direction. I opened the folder and sighed. My original sketch of the Jade pendant, signed and dated months before Clara's little shopping performance, fabric samples, notes in my handwriting, one Polaroid of me holding the first resin model, smiling in the sunlight of my old apartment's balcony. The manager's eyes widened. For the first time, her hands trembled. A junior designer peeked into the lounge. I recognized her immediately. Nora, a quiet intern I'd mentored back when I still thought Silver Emporium could become something worth giving to. She mouthed, "It was you." Barely audible. I nodded once, her lips pressed together, and she disappeared from view. Then, as if on cue, Ellen strolled in with all the timing of a sitcom entrance, oversized sunglasses perched on her head, iced coffee in hand. "Oh," she said, drawing out the word. "We're bringing ex-husbands now." Silas turned to her, expression unreadable. "Connie," he said, his voice calm and unhurried. "You remember what I did for a living back then, but somehow forgot what I own now?" Ellen's face paled. Her jaw twitched. I didn't say a word. I didn't need to. The boutique manager cleared her throat, but it came out dry. She glanced between us like a trapped animal, trying to decide which direction was safer. That's when Silas looked at me, not at them, and said what I hadn't known I needed to hear. "Remember when you helped me survive grad school?" he asked, eyes locked on mine. I was working nights, eating instant noodles, drowning in imposter syndrome. "You saw me when I didn't see myself." My breath caught. So did the managers. "He told me I wasn't failing, I was building," he continued. "You stood by me before anyone knew my name. And you never asked for anything in return." His voice was steady, but it cracked just barely at the end. "They think a rich man walked in here," he said, glancing toward Ellen. "But they don't know who built him." No one spoke. Even the ice in Ellen's cup stopped crackling. I turned back to the manager. "I don't want your apology," I said. My voice was soft, but I knew it carried. "I want your silence. Going forward, you'll speak only when you're sure who's listening." The manager nodded, her gaze cast down. I closed the folder and slid it back into my bag. Then I turned and walked out. Not rushed, not dramatic, but steady. I didn't flinch when I passed the main showroom. Didn't react when Ellen muttered something I couldn't quite catch. Didn't even glance back to see who watched me leave, because it didn't matter. I wasn't walking away. I was walking through. I stepped outside into the Washington afternoon light. Silas caught up beside me, silent as always. He didn't need to say anything. I already knew. They mocked my name behind glass, but I'd etch it where they couldn't erase it. Wednesday evening, Tacoma's skyline glowed and the Silver Emporium Grand Showcase sparkled with orchids and ambition. Clara stood center stage, cameras flashing, claiming my designs as hers, her smile a throne. My name wasn't on the program. I stood behind the curtain, hand on a chair meant for her. Not anymore. The MC announced, "Welcome our sponsor, Silas Harper." Applause roared as Silas took the stage, his presence quiet but commanding. Tonight, I introduced the true architect of this collection, my wife, Lila Harper. Gasps echoed. I stepped forward, eyes on the chair, not Clara's frozen smile. Its plaque read, "Design Consultant Lila Harper." She'd chosen its color, thinking it hers. I sat, hands steady, silent. A whisper from the crowd. She drew the lotus pendant. Another. The real one. Ellen nudged a photographer, ignored. The manager was gone. The truth spoke itself. Backstage, Clara approached, heels sharp. "Your plan?" "No," I said. "The truth, dressed nicely. I turned away, nothing left to prove, only stillness. At a side table, my grandmother's wallet sat in a glass box, leather-worn but proud. A plaque. For Nora H., Grace Through Grit. I touched the glass. Not for the crowd, but for her. They called me invisible, but tonight they saw me. No shout needed. Ooh. I left before dessert, applause fading behind closed doors. At my apartment, the moon lit my silence. I filled a glass of water, the fridge humming. Clara's text buzzed. You embarrassed us. I ignored it, playing Grandma's voicemail, no noise to be strong. Keep showing up. Relief washed over me. I hadn't lost myself, just the volume. News alerts flashed. Lila Harper, Silver Emporium's silent architect. Clara's Instagram vanished, her illusions shattered. The company's statement showed my pendant, true chronology. I reclaimed my dignity, a way of being. Next morning, I walked 6 blocks to the cafe where Ellen once mocked me. No stairs now. The junior designer mouthed, "Thank you." I nodded. For the continuation. That night, alone, my ceiling fan hummed, lamp glowing. I opened my keepsake box, held Grandma's wallet, then turned to my sketchbook. Lines flowed, not to prove, but because I could. They never saw me coming. No noise required. How would you reclaim your truth in her place?